Okay, number three. Yeah, we're doing the usual. It's 3:14 in the morning. I should be going back to bed pretty shortly. It's the 30th of June. It is Thursday. Mr. Weaver, John C. Roseman, California, sleep deprived and emotionally screwed up zombie. So now, getting back to number three here. Tried to talk about rights, talked about institutions, started talking about bowls, and talked about everything else, I guess. And in my sleep deprived brain here, I'm still trying to make something sense here. We are still dealing with the after effects of our mistakes and in our greed of trying to build a country. We want things conservative, according to some conservatives. They like it in certain aspects of it that we find intolerable. Well, at least the liberals do anyway. Well, what does that make me? Am I liberal? Am I conservative? Do I like to preserve things, or do I like to say, well, it's nice that I have the old stuff here, but I still like newer things. I still like to see things need to be repaired left and right, and not just broken down and just rusting away. We call it conserving. Or not to mention, we're treating people in a certain fashion, in a certain limelight, that if they don't obey us with our egos and our own assisting demands, then we're going to be very, very angry with them because we think we're going to be doing a lot of things. Nasty. I never did quite understand what conservatism is all about at this point. But they're the ones bellyaching in the damn polls saying that our institutions are falling apart for them, that they no longer trust them. So what would they consider the institutions at this point over here? What is considered our institutions that we have? Besides our laws, our rules, our regulations, the infrastructure that we keep putting up left and right, the internet that we use constantly? Or how about the institutions of banking industries, laws and justice? How about local law? Well, I did say local law enforcement and fire suppression, not to mention that. How about procedures that deal with our lives on a daily basis or as needed? There's a lot of institutions out there. What we would consider an institution, I consider our documents that we've had for over 240 plus years as institutions, the basis of our government, both state and federal. I'm a constitutionalist. I like the First Amendment rights more. But I have to understand where the limitations are regarding this thing. And that's another part of the institution. Now, I did say something about the slave situation over here, and that's still being fought over. We may have signed in civil rights at this point over here and trying to recognize that everyone else has their own rights. But even that may be turned over in the Supreme Courts because of the conservative judges that we have over there. They're going to be looking over whatever they can tear apart left and right that the quote unquote liberal judges actually did support. So now everything starts to change and unravel again, and everyone else is going to go insane. But the ones that are being reported are the ones that are the ones doing it. That they don't like the institutions that we've got right now as it is. They have no faith in our country. We have so many people with so many ideas on what our country is supposed to be. We were never supposed to be coming up as one idea, one ring rules them all, one authoritative viewpoint. But a lot of people have been pushing for that and pushed against other people who still wanted plurality. Case in point, West Wing. This was a liberal show concerning about how the liberal ruled in Camelot, basically the Camelot of the times. We're talking about a particular president dealing with 2 terms in office, and within the 8 years, dealing with a lot of stress and pressure that a president would deal with. And in a section over there, when they're dealing with the 2001 attack on the trade centers, how that started off, and how the institutions, and how our own rules and regulations, our own laws, our own freedoms were being interpreted and being threatened at the same time. And how some people get pissed off about it because they got selected as potential enemies. And how that had been translated in a lot of things. The part of West Wing in that episode was dealing with the staffers in the Oval Office are meeting inside the cafeteria where the students are in there under a lockdown situation because of an attack on the country. But they didn't use an attack on the country. They used an attack on the West Wing, a terrorist attack. And until they got the lockdown taken care of, they were talking about America. And a lot of students had different ideas about America in this episode. And it was being explored under this. It was the most poignant of them all. There were other poignant ones, but this one kind of pinned it down. You have one guy being interrogated left and right because he was a different color and different race and different creed. And the procedures used for him were totally different than what there was being told in the West Wing, in the cafeteria down below. How things were being viewed in different viewpoints, and how plurality was supposed to be the one ruling the country, and yet in a security situation it wasn't. We're also in that situation as well. I remember 9/11 when it hit, and how terrified I was. But the thing of it is, I didn't look at anybody else as a terrorist. I just looked at the skies and was wondering whether or not we're going to get hit by another plane or not. And if it was going to be the building I was going to be in. That's what scared me the most. And I had to walk with that for a long while. I didn't have that much faith in the institutions, except we were going to survive one way or another. We did. We didn't like the changes we had to do. We didn't like the changes that affected everybody, but it was there. It was different. So how are our institutions so treated as low? How is the viewpoint of our institutions being treated as such? Well, we have a due process built into the Constitution. I looked, as I said before, at the Constitution as an institution. It's an imperfect institution, but it still works. If they're talking about brick and mortars, if they're talking about fallible people working in the brick and mortars, we're all fallible. We all screw up. But there's other times when we actually take the spotlight and we shine. And we show others what it is to be what we want it to be. Not with the anger, not with the hatred, not with the speeches, not with the whatever implements we have in our hands that terrifies everybody else. We show them this. We show them our hearts. We show them the knowledge of what we understand about our country, about its institutions, as it was being built upon. Truth, honesty, respect. That's part of them. There are those out there who want different institutions being rebuilt in our country. They also want religious domination in it. All I can tell you is that there are other countries out there like that we can never be. Iran. We can't be like Russia, who doesn't exactly like religion all that much. We can't be China, that still don't like Russia, that still don't like religion. Or you deal with Korea, that has North Korea actually, that has their family treated as gods, and they're not. But I raised up Iran because we're talking about religion affecting Iran to the most, to the utmost, where you have a ruling council of religious folk over the ruling elected party members that under a supposed democracy that they're supposed to have, and they don't like democracy all that much, but they'll use the voting anyway. And those people are supposed to be representing everybody else, but they're taking the orders from the Ayatollah, the head of the religious order. So now we're going to be having that on here in our country, but we're not going to be having it as Islamic. No. We're going to be having it as Christian. What happened back in the 1600s and 1700s when our colonies were getting formed? There was something about our religious leaders back then, wasn't it? Then somehow we had a certain ruler in there forming his own religion called the Church of England. And if you were Protestant or Catholic, basically Catholic, you are required, no, you're demanded, you are insisted upon changing your religion to this order, because if you're not going to be a Protestant, you're going to be a problem. And it's being ruled by the organized government, overseen by the King of England. The King of England. Nobody votes the son of a bitch in. He's monarchy. Now keep this in mind. There was also something about the history of England that I kept finding fascinating. During that time, there was a fight to overthrow the rule, and they got it back to where it had Parliament controlling it. But after that, they decided, screw it. They're going to have it back to a monarchy, which they've kept it ever since. But until they had that, we still had to deal with a lunatic king who still wanted Church of England being installed upon the United States or the colonies. In our current time right now, 2022, we have people still trying to get religion to affect everything, including our institutions that we have. It includes the justice system, it includes the legislative system, it includes the executive branch. Keep this one in mind. A long time ago, nobody ever thought that an Irish Catholic boy would be able to be the president of the United States. And yet we had John F. Kennedy. We had John F. Kennedy as the president of the United States, who was an Irish Catholic boy. People did not like and appreciate that. But he won their hearts. So how was it when we had a first black person coming into office? We had a split in the country at this point, but it was just enough to put him into office. And people found out what kind of a human being this guy was. But there was loudmouths like Trump and his ilk still looking to find trouble and trying to cause it for Obama because he was black and his name sounded funny. Why not pick on him? He's also a liberal. He's a libtard. And they're still picking on him to this day because they have nothing else better to do with their lives. They still want to deal with anger and hatred and ignorance and arrogance, their own damn egos at work. They're thinking that they're going to be ruling over the country because they think they have the numbers for it. The problem is they don't have the numbers for it. Of course, they showed a sizable group coming into the Capitol on January 6th, but not enough to take over the damn country, that's for sure. But they are out there, causing trouble whenever they can, trying to break down the institutions and break down our own viewpoints of the institutions and how we look at it, how we view it, how we see it at work. But there'll always be the other idiots out there looking at it and thinking, that's not my way. I want it my way. They keep forgetting this country is not Burger King. You cannot have it your way. But you can join the crowd and still tell people about your way, even though it is crazy and insane. And unfortunately, maybe it is part ugly in spirit. We prefer a country that's plural. We want differences in this country, but we still need majority rules because that's how our government system's set up in the Constitution. And if we cannot follow the Constitution, if we cannot follow a document that still needs a lot of work on it, if we cannot give in to the institutions that we were grown up under and still see that we can make a positive change to it, then maybe we should have this whole country dissolve. Every man for himself. But I'll tell you something, I'm not going to like that. I don't even want to see it, or I don't even want to know about it. But we're getting too close to it. Too damn close to it. So maybe they do have it right concerning about the numbers. Because if they're looking at everything else in a negative light, there's nothing else for them to do. They can't see it in a positive light, what we're trying to struggle with. They don't understand and don't care about the history because they think it's fake news. Even though we got books and documentations on the damn stuff. It's still fake news to them. So, what are you going to do? What am I going to do at this point over here is I'm going to end this and I'm going to upload the videos. Get them processed when I can in the morning, or actually later in the day. Because right now I'm too damn tired to continue on. And I'm not doing a number 4. Maybe later.